Hello, this is Hans van der Kwast, Senior Lecturer at IHE Delft Institute for Water Education. In this lecture, you will learn everything about Python libraries. After this lecture, you'll be able to define what a Python library is and to look for useful Python libraries for your research and analysis. In fact, a Python library is a collection of functions and methods, if you have classes, that allows you to perform lots of actions without writing your own code. You import it from other people's code that they provided. So you can import a library into your script using import and then the name of the library. In this little example, you see a script for converting Idrisi files to GeoTIFFs. Yes, you'll recognize it. It is exactly the same that we did in batch processing on the first day, where we used a command line batch script. But this is how it goes in Python. So we import two libraries, the OS, operating system library, and glob, which we need to search for a certain pattern in our files. And then in line 2 we see a variable Idrisi files equals glob.glob, which is glob from the glob library. And it has to look for all the files which end on .rst, so that's the file extension. Then we enter a loop. You can recognize it from the indentation. So for Idrisi file in Idrisi files, so Idrisi files is now a list with all the files in the folder. And for each of these files, it needs to do print processing file and then the name of the file. So which file is it currently processing? Then we define a string, which we call cmd. And that's the command line call that we do. So we use g.translate, output format geotiff, plus the Idrisi file that we want to convert, plus a space, plus, and then we have os.path.splitExt of Idrisi file. That function splits the file name from the extension. And it is a list. So if we use 0, it is the part before the dot, and if we use 1, it is the extension. But here we want to change the extension, so therefore we use the part before the dot of the file name and we add the string .tiff. To get some feedback, we print this whole command to the screen and then we execute it. So os.system simply means run a command line command, and then the whole string cmd will be given to the command line and run. And then when all the files are done, we get out of this loop and it will print to the screen done. I know that the batch file was a bit shorter, but the Python script can give us much more flexibility if we want to add other things, also from other libraries. Also here terminology can be a bit confusing. A module is in fact a file that contains Python definitions, so functions and statements, can have variables, and the file name is the module name, which has .py, but it doesn't have the main script, and you can import a module in your script. Because a module is something that you can make yourself, but it's not necessarily published, it is not a library, although it behaves in a similar way. Then there's a package, and packages are a way of structuring the Python's module namespace by using dotted module names. So as a metaphor, you can think of packages as the directory of a file system, and then modules as files within directories. So you have the package and you have the modules within them, and then you can use the dots to get to the modules. A script refers to a module whose aim is to be executed, so there needs to be some main code in it, and not only functions and variables. And other words used for that is program or application. You also save that in the .py file. And then finally, a library is a generic term of a bunch of code that was designed with the aim of being usable by many applications, so reuse. So when a module, package or something else is published, then we refer to it as a library. So libraries can contain a package or multiple related packages, but it could even be a single module. So the difference is that just that it's published, we download it into our environment, and we can import it in our own applications, in our scripts. So where do you find libraries? Well, your distribution that you use comes with a lot of libraries. But distributions have their own way to install new libraries. For example, if you use Anaconda, you can use conda install and then the name of the library you want to use. In Anaconda Navigator, as a tool from Anaconda, you can also find the package manager where you can use a user interface to search for the library you want to use and install it. There's also a Python package index, PyPy, which is the repository of software for the Python programming language, including all the libraries. And on the page of PyPy, you can see how many of these packages there are, or libraries, and there are more than 200,000. So some very useful libraries. There is NumPy, which is in fact using arrays like people who use MATLAB are very used to. And there's Pandas, where you can do a lot of scientific analysis, especially useful for example, time series analysis, where you want to fill gaps in rainfall time series, or you want to move from daily to monthly data. Here we see an example. There's on the left side hourly bicycle count, and just with this one line of command, you can resample that to weekly, as you see in the first line on the right side. Then another very popular one is Matplotlib, the MATLAB plotting library. So it's like MATLAB, but then in Python for free without license. And you can use it for 2D plotting, 3D plotting. It can come with an interactive window where people can save the files. There's possibility of LaTeX styling, and it's very well documented. You can go to matplotlib.org, and you'll also find there an example gallery, of which I made a screenshot that you see on the right of a few of those examples, but there are many more examples there. If you want to use these libraries that I mentioned, I can really recommend to go to the Python Data Science Handbook made by Jake van der Plas, which gives you an introduction to NumPy, data manipulation with pandas, and visualization with Matplotlib, and some more. So that's really useful if you want to learn these things.